This is Outnumbered. I'm Sandra Smith. Here today, Harris Faulkner, Andrea Tanteros, Kirsten Powers, and today's #OneLuckyGuy, Fox News contributor and senior writer for the Weekly Standard, is Stephen Hayes, and he is outnumbered. We're glad to have you.
Wow, good to be here. Good to be back.
DC train must have been packed. Right? Look at all this. This is great.
Packed and slow.
This is a great pair to have on the couch today because we've got a lot to get to. All right, well, neck and neck with just days to go until the second Republican primary debate. A stunning new poll shows Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump so close in a hypothetical head-to-head matchup. The new Washington Post ABC News survey finds Clinton garnering 46% support compared to Trump's 43% among registered voters. A small lead that's within the margin of error. Meantime, this same poll showing Clinton's falling fortunes among Democratic voters. Hillary dropping to 42% among Dems, down from 63% back in July. Bernie Sanders jumping 10 points to 24% over the same time period. And Vice President Joe Biden, who's not even in the race yet, up 9 points to 21%. Stephen, it's just so great to have you here and get your perspective on this. What do you make of Trump's continued rise in the polls?
Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely fascinating. There's probably not been a better time to cover electoral politics that I can remember, just because this is so crazy. I mean, you've got Bernie Sanders leading in a couple of polls in Iowa and New Hampshire now. You've got Donald Trump continuing to lead the Republican primary nomination fight. And there really aren't many signs that he's declining, despite what, people like me thought a couple months ago.
I mean, just a couple months ago, nobody was taking Trump seriously, Kirsten. I mean, here we are 14 months out from the general election, and we're still talking about the Clinton-Trump head-to-head matchup.
Yeah, and I think most people thought he would have imploded by now, right? There's no way this would be sustained. And what was interesting about the Washington Post poll that came out also is if you look at even Republicans who don't like him, if you put him head-to-head with Hillary Clinton, they're going to go with Trump. So, this suggests that he has a lot more staying power probably than just among his little base of supporters who are really enthusiastic about it.
But still, so many people you talk to, Andrea, are making the case for there's still a lot of time and things could quickly change. Of course, things could change on the Democratic side with Joe Biden potentially entering the race. But I ask you this, what could change between now and when Donald Trump isn't leading on the GOP side? I mean, what could the catalyst be for him to finally come down in the polls?
I'm not really sure. I mean, a lot can change because we've seen even if somebody wins a state like Iowa, they can go on to lose after that. However, I mean, I wouldn't say that nobody thought that Trump would implode or nobody thought that Trump wasn't going anywhere. No one thought that they couldn't take him seriously. I did. I've always taken him very, very seriously. And, maybe it's just a DC mentality. I'm not sure you guys are down there. But I can tell you, it's amazing how many Democrats I even talked to. Democrats that would never think of voting for a Republican. There's something about Trump that they like. It's incredible. So, I mean, look, I'm going to be watching the debates. I know that everyone else is going to be watching them. But I think what really is fascinating, I mean, his polling, even though he has lower favorables when you ask him about attributes than Hillary Clinton, people still agree with him on the issues and go with him. What's amazing to me, Sandra, is over half of people polled in this poll don't believe Hillary Clinton. They think that she's mishandled this email scandal, although that number stayed pretty consistent from May. So she seems to be just plateauing with that trust, but it's still a bad place for her to be.
Well, there's one segment of that trust deficit that I would imagine that her campaign is really concentrating on this morning. Kirsten, it's got to be the women. Because if you look at the NBC Marist poll from last week, you look at the CNN poll from just a couple days ago in the Fox News polling, talking to women voters, she has a real problem with trust as an issue. And how big is that problem? When she goes 1-to-1 against Bernie Sanders in New Hampshire and Iowa, she bleeds 16% down from July, 24% points down.
Right.
Okay, not that she's trailing him by that much, but that she's losing that. Where are those women going? Remember, Donald Trump crosses both lines because he's been accused of being a Democrat. That's because he listens to everybody, right? So would some of those women consider going to Donald Trump? His numbers among women are
strong.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be surprised if women flock en masse to Donald Trump, especially given some of the things
they don't have to be en masse. They just have to be some.
Fair.
Because he's got a lot already.
Look, I don't think the answer to the question, in my view, is it's not going to be a moment. It's not going to be one big moment, which is what I thought a lot of us, maybe not you, but certainly what I thought. That he would have a moment where he would go too far and then we would see his campaign sort of crumble. I think now it's likely to be, if we see this decline, and I do still think we'll see a decline, a series of moments where people say, now that was a little bit too much. And on top of what he did last week, was a little too much. And, you know, the Carly
like
Fiorina
a drip effect? So when is that going to start?
But the question is like, what can he say that's worse than what he's already said?
Right.
So, I mean, that's why I sort of feel like that's why when I watched the debate, and a lot of people thought he was imploding at the debate, I thought, no, he's not imploding because he hasn't said anything worse than anything he said before the debate. So, you know, and people liked him before the debate.
That has surprised me. I mean, that is the one thing that when you look at the way the media has covered him, nothing seems to stick. I mean, it's a fascinating account. Republicans always say, I wish we had a candidate that could get away with certain things. Why do we always get held to a different standard? It's not this way, and I think it's fascinating. However, he is talking about the issues that people care about. They don't care about political correctness or personal insults. They care about immigration and other issues.
Except for his support, Andrew, for Hispanics has never bounced
very
back.
Quickly, Hillary Clinton, what's her message? Her message is, I'm a woman. Yeah, we know. We got that.
Well, her message is also, she's talking about income inequality, and there's other things that she's not necessarily connecting on.
She's talking about solving the problems the Obama administration caused.
Of which she was a part of.
She is.
She's also talking about the problem that she caused herself. In a dramatic new twist, the Hillary Clinton email scandal. Well, word that we could eventually find out what was in those thousands of messages that she deleted following her time as Secretary of State. This after the company that managed her server reportedly says that they have no knowledge of the device being wiped, meaning all those emails could be recoverable. The former Secretary of State has said that she deleted about 30,000 personal emails from her server before it was turned over to the server company. But tech experts say that hitting delete is not enough to permanently get rid of a message. Stephen, are you surprised by this? I mean, we've already sort of know that you can get these emails. The CIA gave them to the Senate Intel Committee. You've got to assume if the FBI wanted them, they could get them.
Yeah, I mean, we have had a series of changing answers from the Clinton camp on this, and that, I think, compounds her problems, her trust and honesty problems. You had David Kendall, her lawyer, sending an email to congressional investigating committees back in the spring saying that, I mean, it was very carefully worded. I think people at the time took it to mean, look, the emails aren't there. But now, if you look at what he actually wrote, he said emails don't reside on the server or any backup systems associated with the server. Well, that doesn't rule out a second server, right? I mean, they could reside in any of a number of different places, but at the time, people took that to mean the emails don't exist in the way that we all imagined they would. And this is, I think, a problem for her. We are back into this Clintonian world of defining what is. And she can't afford to have that at this point. I think it does speak to her problems.
You know, in New York, we do take a lot of cabs. Before I moved here, I don't think that I really had ever taken one. So I have this thing called a CDI, the Cab Driver Index. And so I ask every cab driver, you know, what are you thinking about? What are you talking? I'm tired of the email thing. I liked Hillary, but she can't handle her email. That's an interesting response across a lot of different cab drivers who listen to news all day long, I would imagine. And why does that matter? Because that's what people are talking about instead of what you mentioned, Kirsten, her ideas about the economy and so on and so forth. So when you have a joke, when a reporter like Ed Henry, one of our stars here at Fox News, asks a question about that server, and she makes a joke, oh, you think I wiped it with a cloth? You think... That's not an answer. No. That just gets people laughing about it.
Camp repeatedly saying that they don't understand what it means to wipe it clean.
As if they've never asked that question. I mean, it is totally unbelievable that they don't know exactly what that means and that they haven't asked that question and know the exact determination of what is on the server, where it exists, and what they may have to one day turn over to investigators.
Which doesn't it make you think that they did wipe it, right? Because they don't, and that's why I know now we've been told that it wasn't wiped, but if that was true, they would have just said that.
Why didn't they say
Why are
that?
they playing dumb? Why are they acting like we don't don't know what that means, and we're just so confused about what's happening here. And, you know, if they aren't trying to hide something, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you do that?
Stephen, you've done a ton of great reporting on past Clinton scandals. You know, your Benghazi reporting has been top notch. What do you think is at play here? Because you look at this, and I have to imagine the FBI, again, they could get those emails. Somebody was on the receiving end of those emails. Why is this taking so long?
Yeah, look, I don't think you have to be a great conspiracy theorist to think that something here is askew. If you look at the timeline, go back to when she resigned as Secretary of State and then didn't do anything with her emails for all of those years. And it was only when Congress started showing interest in seeing her emails that she decided she needed
Benghazi.
to separate her personal emails and her work emails. We don't have any idea how that process unfolded, what the criteria were to make those decisions. And it just, I think it beggars imagination to think that she's not trying to hide something. That's what everything points to in this. We don't know what that is. I think Trey Gowdy and his committee will get close to finding out. If not,
and they jumped on
it
only after the New York Times jumped on it. They issued the subpoena about 6 months after.
So if the assumption among Democrats is that Americans really don't care about what happened with our U.S. consulate in Benghazi and the investigation, they might start to care again because of this situation. It's what triggered it all.
Yeah, don't sleep on the Benghazi aspect of the Benghazi investigation. There are going to be some serious questions when she appears and after her appearance.
Andrea, I just wanted to end by saying that on the Business Network, our sister network, we have the opportunity to talk to so many technology professionals and experts. And the general consensus is that these emails should be recoverable. Yeah. I mean, you don't talk to any big technology expert that says otherwise.
All right, so I guess we'll see what we see. We're going to break in now with some breaking news, and we've just been learning about this. We were kind of following this all along and want to bring you the details now that it's coming together. Reports of a Delta State University in Mississippi on lockdown. That campus sent out a campus-wide alert to its students. An active shooter seen on campus is how it is coming in. A couple of things to note, just where this is, 2.5 hours north of Jackson, Mississippi, just to give you an idea. They sent this out to students via their Twitter account as well. The Clarion Ledger now is reporting this. The active shooter spotted on the Delta State campus near Job Hall. So some more details coming in from the Clarion Ledger. The Cleveland Police Department has confirmed one victim taken by ambulance, and the suspect is on the loose. Delta State University in Mississippi. The authorities are asking students and faculty, please take immediate action to stay locked down wherever you are. No coming or going. They've closed off that campus. We'll bring you more details as we learn them coming out of the story there in Mississippi. Now we'll move on. Kim Davis is back to work today. The Kentucky County Clerk speaking out this morning and remaining as defiant as ever, still refusing to issue gay marriage licenses, but saying she won't stand in the way of her deputy clerks who choose to do so. So could she end up back behind bars? And would the licenses even be valid without her authorization? And burned to the ground. Boy, this story broke wide open over the weekend. The latest on the devastating situation in Northern California after a string of wildfires are tearing through that area. Stay with us.